I've been listening to this ongoing conversation that Kendra's been had with this mysterious feminist. It's been on my channel a few times in the comment section, called RKellysCoCo, an avowed black feminist. And sometimes with a dialogue, because actually this is a longer dialogue. Like I said, if you really want to be fair and actually agree or disagree with Kendra's information or Kendra's argument, hit the link, go to her channel, view the whole video, and then whether you agree, disagree, hate it, love it, whatever it is, then you can come back and really get into what you think about it. I really don't like people disagreeing with information that I get, especially if they've only heard portions of an argument. Because a lot of stuff that they disagree with or they say that she's missed will be probably in her larger argument. It's unfair to her for you to go by the little snippet that I picked. I picked the snippet that I want to concentrate on, that's important to me, without making the video too long. And I know people complain if I played her whole hour and a half replay, people would get upset, especially guys would get upset. Oh, I don't want to hear her for that long. So I'm asking respectfully that if you're going to disagree with her, especially harshly disagree with her, have harsh critiques of the information or the snippet that I have, at least be fair and go listen to the whole video. I know a lot of guys, the last time I put her up, they refuse to actually be fair or be intellectually sound by just taking the little 15 minutes that I put up out of a 2-hour argument. I know I can't do anything about it. I've given my disclaimer. That's all I can do. But that being said, a lot of the feminist talking points, especially black feminist talking points that she brings up against the black men in the community, and I really believe this woman is Brooklyn Blue in disguise, is based on spreading false narratives. Now, if a feminist comes with accurate information, no matter how slanted, if she comes up with truth and accurate information trying to fix something, then no matter how harsh the feminist is, I can actually get on board with her and agree with her. But unfortunately, a lot of the black feminists not only cherry pick, but outright lie about history. And what Kendra has done is coalesce all the information that us and others and stuff that she's learned, coalesce that into like a singular dissertation. And these 8 minutes kind of give a flavor of what this information is about. The black Americans on this shores of North America, a lot of this history has been hidden, not even hidden, just misidentified and basically turned into legend. But when you dig down into the truth of what the North Atlantic slave trade was about and how it was actually facilitated on both sides of the Atlantic, and how we as a class we call the Negro, we actually grew up out of this particular situation, then we start digging into the truth. And black women aren't the victims that they claim to be. There's been numerous books that have been done, not only by men, but by women, because men could never dare uncover some of this stuff without being harshly criticized. This has been stuff that has been dug up by women. And actually female historians have actually dug up a lot of this stuff. And what we get into is that complex situation, or the complex relationship between black women and white men, and also black women and white women, and the position that has put the Negro man into, because I'm gonna use the Negro man because that's our class. We can call ourselves anything we want, but basically the original class of people that was created was called Negro, slave class, as Kendra puts it. And the unique position that the Negro woman has in this particular society that we call a patriarchy over her man, that has been written about for 150 years. This is not new. And there's a lot of lies and a lot of falsehoods that have been built up around this particular narrative that the long-suffering Negro woman has been abused not only by the system, but also by her man. And the long falsehood, the false narrative that the black male or the Negro male has been an abysmal failure from the time they hit the shores till now. Not actually including or actually admitting that the weak, or what we call the oppressed Negro male, is actually a product of the system, a product of this environment, a product of this social environment intentionally. And it's not opposed by Negro women, it's actually enhanced and helped by Negro women. As the compromise, as Kendra says, between the white slave master or the white dominant society and her. So I'm going to play this section from Kendra's video. Kendra has been doing some outstanding work. And I think Kendra does, a lot of people don't agree with it and it can come off harsh, but Geminis sometimes do their best work when they're actually pissed off. I know I do, because the hardest thing for a Gemini to do is feel, because we're detached. But when we get pissed off, we get grounded into not only our feelings, but into our bodies. And we start to really attach or really get into the meat of what we're saying, because that's where, unfortunately, the evil twin contains our passion. And a lot of revelatory work that Kendra has done has been when she's pissed off. So I'm going to play this and I'm going to come back on the other side.
So that's a lie. It's a bold-faced lie. Black women were never given the opportunity to lead our communities properly. That sentence alone shows you the backwards thinking, okay? The fact that you think that women should be leading the communities, period. No other successful culture or ethnic group of people put their women in leadership positions. They just don't do it. They put the men in leadership positions. Because if it was the other way around, white so-called supremacy would be a shining example, because it would be a matriarchy. But it's not. It's a patriarchy. And they've held power for hundreds of years. Now you can say it's right, wrong, but I'm coming at it from an amoral standpoint right now. I'm not looking at the morality of it. I'm looking at the success rate of it. It is a patriarchy. Anyway, Black women were forced as lead because Black men kept selling his family out and couldn't go toe to toe with white men historically. There we are. Let's tell the truth here. Black men are terrible at leadership and really don't care about the Black family. They just want a seat at the white man's table and the perks of patriarchy without the responsibility. Look up the definition of true matriarchy. The men cooperate, submit, and shut the hell up sometimes. Since when have Black men cooperated with Black women to lead? They're too busy jealous of us and competing because their ego is too fragile and weak. Did y'all hear that? I'm going to read that again because it was so ridiculous. I have to read it again. Black women were never given the opportunity to lead our communities properly. Black women were forced as lead because the Black man kept selling his family out and couldn't go toe to toe with white men historically. Let's tell the truth here. Black men are terrible at leadership and really don't care about the Black family. They just want a seat at the white man's table and the perks of patriarchy without the responsibility. Look up the definition of true matriarchy. The men cooperate, submit, and shut the hell up sometimes. Since when have Black men cooperated with Black women to lead? They're too busy jealous of us and competing because their ego is too fragile and weak. That has so many holes in it. So many holes. I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to start. Let's start with the overall premise that the women are to be leading the community? That's what I want to know. Why do you think that that is a normal situation for the women to lead the community? But here's the kicker. You have been leading the community. See, she threw a little word in there. She threw a little word in there that was supposed to give her the wiggle room necessary to get out of this next talking point. Black women were never given the opportunity to lead our communities properly, which means that she acknowledges that Black women do lead the community. Okay? See, my thing is, it doesn't matter how you got in the captain's chair. The fact of the matter is that you're in the captain's chair. And you've been in that chair for quite a long time. You've been in that chair. Let's just take in America. We're not even going to go pre-slave trade. We're going to go from the plantation to present. You have been in charge of the Black community. No, forget it. Let's do pre-slave trade, because since you were in charge of the mating and the dating, it was Black women, African women, that decided to mate and bed the Europeans that came to the coast of Africa, to consort with them, to become their wives and concubines, to birth their children, creating a buffer class and a buffer race. And that was the doorway to allow these same Europeans to broker deals to capture Black males for the slave trade. Nobody's stupid. We know you ain't never been loyal. We know that. We know. Thanks for coming to my comment section to say that. We know. Because when the slave trade first began, they did not even enslave women. They enslaved men only. They didn't even come to get you. The only reason they came to get you was so that you could breed, because the slave trade, it was, all good things come to an end. So, you got to stop at some point, but they weren't ready to stop benefiting from slave labor. So here you come. That's your role. You come in to be the breed mare, because they need more slaves. And it's not even economically sound to keep going back and getting them. That supply runs low. We are talking about humans here. And that is when Black women became eternally butthurt. That was the deal. You were never supposed to be a slave. You were always supposed to be his concubine and his wife. He promised you that you would never endure the horror of slavery, but he broke that promise, didn't he? Captured your ass, didn't he? Brought you over here too, beat your ass too, and stuck you right next to the men you betrayed. Then he disowned you for the most part. Gone was the recognition of the part that you had played in order for him to even open the door to get this wealth that he accumulated, that you feel like you are entitled a part to. Let's be real. This is where your sense of entitlement comes from. It's not entitlement from Black men, it's entitlement from white men. So let's talk about the sense of entitlement. You feel entitled, and your foremothers felt entitled to the white man's wealth because that was the promised price. What was the promised price, Grima? That when all the men are dead, you would take your share of the spoils? You've seen much, Aemir, son of Aemond. Too much. That's what you were entitled to. And he double-crossed your ass, didn't he? You didn't think that he would do that, did you? You didn't think he'd put you in the slave class too? That when you finally came over on these shores, you played second, third, and fourth fiddle to the white woman, his woman, the one he recognized as his woman. And he recognized you as nothing but a concubine whore. Yeah, he threw you a few pitlins here and there, but you're not about to get open access to his wealth. So instead of giving you open access to his wealth, here's what he did for you. I throw you a bone. I'll give you power over that worthless ass community of yours. And here's what you do. I keep throwing you bones here and there as long as you keep that goddamn man in check. So what I need you to do is raise weak ass boys so he can be a weak ass man. And don't you ever raise a boy that can challenge me. Don't you ever raise a boy into a man that would challenge me. Yes'm. Yes'm. I won't, massa. Yes'm. And you didn't.
Now, that ending phrase or that ending piece where I actually cut it off. I apologize, Kendra. Now you're on the roll. I apologize for cutting it off at that particular dramatic moment. And I'm sure the audience is going to get pissed off probably because they want to hear more. But I thought that was the appropriate point to actually leave off, because what she said about the agreement, I even hate saying it, but the thing is, it's really true. The agreement between the white dominant society and his Negro concubine. Because as black men, as black males in the society, we truly believe these are our women. And perhaps they are. Or perhaps they can be. But there has been and always been a relationship between the white man, the white slave master, or the dominant society and the slave class and the concubine, because even the early black feminists in the 60s actually kind of hinted at it. I remember I was playing Margot Jefferson, and she hinted at the black woman being the sexual concubine of the dominant society, producing children, producing workers. And the hinted agreement that Kendra actually pointed out, you can agree or disagree with that point. And I know there's probably going to be people on either side of the fence that are actually going to harshly and vehemently agree and harshly and vehemently disagree with what she said that last sentence, because that's where the dividing line is. Now, whether we think so or like it or not, this is true, just like the Willie Lynch letter, where you think that it's a fact or a true agreement or not, that a historical agreement or not. Fact is that in action, what she said at the very end, by the black females not raising black males to challenge the dominant society, has been historically accurate for the last 200 years. And as we get further along and into this assimilation process, you can actually see it. They're making the black males weaker and weaker and weaker. White women get pissed off. Asian women get pissed off. Hispanic women get pissed off. They do not raise or allow weak males in their society. They don't coddle males in their society. Males are not coddled in other society. Even white people, is liberal and permissive as they are, do not really coddle white males. That's like you see them commit suicide so often. They're not coddled. They get rid of failed white males. They're not coddled. Because what? Because they're trained to challenge the environment. They're trained to challenge other men from the ground up. I remember I was in Guatemala. I had a 3-year-old, a 3-year-old trying to shine my shoes, trying to earn some money for his family. They start them very young to actually go out and challenge the environment, try to make something happen. The whole black society, whole Negro society has been trained to put a cap on what the white society called uppity Negroes. Black women with passivity, they're trained passivity, and white men with violence. So if the passivity by the black female doesn't work, the white male violence does, whether it's death, whether it's prison. So the compliant black male is supposed to be the norm, not only compliant to the dominant society, but also compliant to her, which is what RKellysCoCo is complaining about, that black males or the compliant black male doesn't follow. which has been the narrative for the last 150 years. But it's a hidden secret. It's a hidden secret that black women don't like to admit because it's embarrassing. Black men don't like to admit because we puff up our chest and try to be strong. Some of us do make it, but everybody knows that's not what was trained. That's not what that was for the most part. I'm not saying everybody, because there's always going to be some, oh, my daddy didn't train me to be that way. Well, no, it's not, nothing's 100%. And even those that are strong, that have made it out, that have been trained to lead, to be strong, to be challenging. I'm not saying masculine. You can be masculine without challenging. To be challenging, challenge the dominant society. The ones that do challenge the dominant society knows that their compatriots or the other men, black men, Negro men that feel the same way, train the same way, are far and few in between. Now, you can come on this comment section and you can scream and holler that that's not true. I say, bullshit. Prove me wrong. Because I done heard guys like you complain about the same damn thing that I'm saying for the last 30, 40 years. I ain't got nobody to work with. I ain't got black men that'll actually support me or get behind me or challenge me. Lowcast just said it just earlier today, but nobody asked why that is. And there's only two possibilities. Either we're bred to be that way and it's in the DNA and you can't dig that out. Other than that, we're trained to be that way and socialized to be that way. Because you're talking about weak ass white men that will gang up and actually get together and do something, and black men won't. That tells you right there, it's not a matter of DNA, it's a matter of socialization. And a lot of black men and black women think you can just flip a switch and this shit will happen. All of a sudden, a pussycat will turn into a lion or a tiger or an animal that's been in a cage. You can let go. I don't care how big the lion is. I don't care how big the bear is. I don't care how big the animal is. If that animal was raised in a zoo, in a cage, and domesticated where it doesn't have to hunt, and you let it go out in the wild, it's going to die. Can't flip a switch. It has to be taught. It has to be socialized. If an animal is that way, a sophisticated thing like a human being that needs more training, more socialization, and more teaching, doesn't just flip a switch. And if we don't get to the bottom of this, if we don't get to the root of this, nothing's going to change. I don't care how much you scream. You're not the first generation to scream about masculinity and black masculinity. You ain't the first generation to do that. And if we don't get to the bottom of this, you won't be the last to scream about it. And Kendra aptly pointed it out. Aptly pointed out where the root is. The root, and that's the funny thing. Everybody knows where the fucking root is. Everybody knows where the problem is. Everybody knows what needs to be done as far as training the next generation, but nobody wants to admit it. We always go back to the usual suspect. The one that can least change the system, because that's what everybody's comfortable with. To paraphrase the Joker, black gangbangers can kill themselves. Black men can get shot by police and go to prison. Black men can be homeless and destitute. And nobody cares. Everybody relaxes. Why? Because it's all part of the plan. It's just part of the plan. But you try to make black women accountable, try to make black women change what they're doing, change their programming, everybody loses their goddamn mind. Why? Because it's not all part of the plan. This plan has been in place for 200 years. And it works so smoothly that nobody even questions it. And every time you try to challenge it, everybody loses their minds because it's not part of the plan. Because it upsets the order that we're in. It's easier to keep heaping this problem on a black man's shoulder because that's where it's always been. Even though he doesn't have the power to actually change this shit. And everybody knows that. You ain't got power to change this shit. You don't. But you do have the power to keep it going. And when black men say no, that they're not going to keep it going, everybody loses their minds. Why? Because it's not part of the plan. With that, I'm going to jump off of here. This is BGS out, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.